came from Montpelier, which is why I'm wearing the bow tie, and also why I'm super excited about alternative energy. So I want to frame my recommendations to you guys in a sense, to have you frame your thought process about it, because I really think that's an important part of this whole process. We need to acknowledge that Vermont wants to fight climate change, and we do need to acknowledge that any observation we have about wind needs to be compared to alternatives. What are we going to replace with wind if we take away wind, and what kind of example are we going to be setting for the world? So I really think that Vermont's an incredible state. I've only been here for a couple years. I know I can never truly be a Vermonter because I wasn't born here, but I'd like to, at least convince myself a little. My kids could be Vermonters. There are a lot of opportunities. But what I've noticed from being involved with the activism community in Vermont is that far too often people say no. They say no to this, they say no to that, because it's a lot easier to highlight problems and say no to something than to create solutions. But that's why I think it's really important that the siting committee right here says no to backwards progress on alternative energy, so that 30 years from now, I can look at my kids and say, yes, I'm glad we're able to live in a state where people in the past decided that they were going to think towards the future and think beyond their backyard. Because I honestly believe, here's another fact, totally deviating from my speech, that one of the main problems with wind energy is NIMBY. People talk about these bears and other animals that is incredibly important to preserve. But we need to also realize that we set a global example. And while it may be difficult for some bears to find their ways around windmills, it's more difficult to find bears' homes if they're on the top of a mountain that's been just removed for coal. And that's some of the alternatives that we have out there. We have hydro, which is causing massive displacements of people. And when we moved away from Vermont Yankee, we shifted a lot more towards hydropower from Canada. So why wouldn't we be creating this energy in Vermont that can set an example for the world? Bill said something really excellent today. He said that people in China and throughout the world, they know Vermont and California as this champion of the new energy ethic. And he also said something funny, that they think the states are the same size. But we need to recognize we're a tiny state, but we can have a huge impact. And if we're setting an example for the rest of the world, and that world precludes one possible avenue that can help get us closer to promoting a sustainable future where we have less climate change, then we're really not holding true to the values that our state has always been able to endorse and always been able to promote for the rest of the country. Yes, we're the best in the country as far as carbon emissions go, according to some people, but the United States is the worst country in the world. We need to do more, and we're not doing close to enough. So think about climate change, alternatives, and how we set a global example. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.